You're live on 98.9 Northwest FM. I'm Nathan, as always joined by James. What's something that's made you happy this week, James?
It's getting harder and harder to find something, but I think this weekend, we were hanging out watching the wrestling, so that was a bit of fun.
Yeah. As for me, what's made me happy this week is The Lincoln Lawyer getting renewed for season 4. That made me happy.
Cool.
Also joined by Callum. How you going, Callum? What's something that's made you happy this week?
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft? Yeah, fair enough. And we have a very special guest. I'm going to mispronounce this name so much. I'm sorry in advance. Nephthys Nile.
Hello.
How are you, Nephthys? What's something that's made you happy this week?
Something that's made me happy, I encountered a new doggo on my street.
Ooh.
And they were very happy and cute and loving. Overly so in part, but yes, an absolutely adorable puppy.
Making a new friend is always something that makes you happy. That's
absolutely.
good.
Yeah. Just seeing a dog walking by, it's like days automatically better.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
We have a Shiba in our suburb.
We do. We have some rare
nice.
boys. Yeah. So Nephthys is a professional dungeon master, author, writer, kind of tabletop role-playing community, kind of organizer, all of the above. You wear a lot of hats.
I wear a number of hats where the number is greater than 1, yes.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. Where did you find your start in, I guess, the tabletop community? Have you always wanted to be involved in tabletop and be a DM and those kinds of things?
So back in the dark ages, before digital was a thing, I went to high school and found Magic the Gathering, found D&D there, wasn't allowed because there was a girl, and realised...
Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. Realised I was an obnoxious girl and didn't take no for an answer. So I just pushed my way into the groups. Didn't always like the stories that were being told and said, screw it, I'm going to make my own. And that's really where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, we're going back to that. It kind of was, Stranger Things made it seem like everyone was always included, but it was very much a boys' club. Those kinds of hobbies, very much.
I think they say women have always played D&D, but in pop culture, it's overrepresented how many women were allowed, in quotation marks, to play at, high school tables and that type of thing.
We were always welcome at the tables so long as we played the healer. and wore the bikini armor. Like, we were always there, but maybe not as involved. Yeah.
So I guess moving on, you're also in the Australian tabletop. I forget what it's
Australian role-playing.
Australian role-playing.
Yes.
So, what does that involve? Like, you're kind of
so much.
Yeah.
So the Australian roleplay community is essentially a community that looks to support and hold space for independent tabletop creators, be they writers, developers, or DMs, GMs. And predominantly we are running things like mentorships for new people in the industry. We look to facilitate up-and-coming new GMs, find events for them to hold their games in. And part of our mentorship program is actually doing a publishing deal where we take a program and we mentor new authors and see it through to the end where they have a published material.
That's fascinating. What's your proudest... Have you been involved in the publishing angle of that? Personally?
Not personally, no, because I wear a lot of hats and I don't need another tiara on my mantle. But I would love to. I have seen a number of amazing publications come through. You can check them out at the I'm going to say this wrong.
We'll link everything in the description.
Look at the show notes, folks.
Yeah.
Well, what's like the biggest success that that's come out of it lately?
Oh, wow. That's a really loaded...
I'm sorry if that's putting on the spot.
No, I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but I have to say, PAX is kind of the crown and glory. We hold so many tables there.
Oh, you're a part of that.
Yeah, and it just gets bigger and bigger each time.
We've noticed that. I mean, James has been to 2 PAXs now, and each sort of time he's been that we've noticed, like, it's getting bigger and bigger.
Encroaching on
the tabletop area.
Yeah, one day we will have the entire revenge.
I seriously think that they should bring a PAX Unplugged to Australia, because it seems like there's always queues to get. We're lucky because we get, thankfully, we get media badges, so we can hustle in and line up early.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
We're a bit
noted. Okay, folks.
We're a bit obnoxious.
That's how
we'll get in for the press hour and go straight to the tabletop.
Yeah.
Like, can we sign up yet?
Because 2023 was these boys have been to every PAX since
Minus a
Australia.
couple, yeah.
Yeah. 2023 was my first one, and the 2023 was also the first year we got in as media. So because we were allowed to get in early, these guys were like, "Look, the tabletop area always gets booked out super quickly, so we have to go straight to tabletop area and book."
Excellent. So now we know the strategists in the group.
Yeah, so
Marvelous.
we took full advantage, but that was good because we got to meet you, and I got to play Vampire for the first time, so that was really cool. And that was 2023, and then we were like, "Oh, we have to interview you," and now it's 2025. So sorry it's taken so long.
We were talking before the show. We had a significant detour in 2024.
Yeah, lots happened.
What fascinates me is that the Australian community seems to really have a need for tabletop games, because every year it's getting bigger, and I'm like, at some point PAX is going to notice that, like
they have.
Yeah, because like it's booked out all the time. You have to fight people to get a spot. Often you have to do like one table with one spot open.
Yeah.
So it's not even like groups like ours can't just go and be like, "Oh, okay, no, let's play." It's like, no, you might have like James might get to go and play Pathfinder, while me and Nathan get to go and play Vampire or what have you.
I think that's why in 2024 they opened the Owlbear Theatre. So that was a theatre where actual plays were being held. And I do believe, don't quote me on this because I am not associated with PAX Australia. There's your disclaimer. I do believe they're bringing it back for 2025.
Well, it was popular, wasn't it?
It was super popular, yeah. The couple of panels that I was on were massively attended.
We hope to go to Chaosium Con this year. Fingers crossed. But, there's a lot of good stuff in Australia these days for the tabletop, which is good.
Yeah.
On PAX, while we're on that topic, how was your experience, kind of, I guess, at PAX? You were there last year as well?
Yes.
How was your experience doing it all day? Like, how does
it? It's a lot.
Yeah. So, like, what's that experience like as a creative person? Are you able to sustain yourself to the end, or do you kind of fizzle out in the middle?
Oh my God. Each day is a slog. And the thing is, it's coming and you prepare for it, and you're like training like an athlete. You hydrate, you make sure you can stand, you make sure you can walk in your costume and your shoes, and you train your voice. And day one hits, hour into day one, you're like, this is hell on earth.
I want to go
What have I done? Oh my God, I have regrets.
Because a part of that also that interests me is like you're selling tabletop to people who might not have any experience or are not comfortable with it. And you're trying to do your best to represent the hobby and the kind of the industry to people who are new. And I'm like keeping a smile on your face for that whole time and not pushing them away because you're tired.
Do you ever have the moment where you're like, I've explained initiative 4 times?
Look, it's an absolute joy to bring tabletop games to people who may, as you said, may not have ever experienced it before. But yes, there are times where I'm like, please just roll the dice. We were supposed to be done 5 minutes ago. Yeah. I really need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, that's probably our tables. Yeah. Which one's the D20 again?
But like, honestly, it is a joy. It is a privilege to be able to do it as well. And being asked to come back year upon year, it's obviously I'm doing something okay. And people enjoy it. I mean, you guys wanted to talk to me afterwards.
We loved it, yeah.
I guess I'm okay.
We also, I believe we played a campaign that you wrote as well. Or at least a story that you wrote.
Oh, was
Shadows
Shadows on the Nullarbor.
Yes.
Yes.
You wrote that story?
I did write that story.
So that was more interesting to us already because it's kind of like, it's a real act of creation. We're playing something that you've created yourself.
So I have a process. I write a new one-shot every year for Vampire the Masquerade, and I playtest it with a couple of groups throughout January, February. If I have the possibility to, I will record it as a 3-shot in February, March, and then I go to Conquest, which is another tabletop convention here in Melbourne, and run it for 2 or 3 days, and then iron out some of the kinks, and then I'll take it to PAX.
Yeah, so it's a whole process, and we were lucky enough to play that.
And Alan, who's our other team member, he's not here, but him and these two guys here, they like to try to derail any campaign we play.
Not unethically.
So I know.
It's just about finding the boundaries.
Testing, pushing
the rules.
Pushing the boundaries.
Was, not in the last 2 years, the year before that, we played a one shot a guy made. It was a science fiction one, and it was meant to be unwinnable. But Alan's rolls were lucky enough that he somehow managed to win.
Oh, wow.
And we were the first table to win.
Amazing.
Because Alan was able to convince the DM that, like, we won the scenario when it was meant to be, like, everyone dies at the end. And he was like, no, I'll roll for this, please. And I was like, all right, go for it. And he rolled a 20, and then we lived.
You were thinking of things he hadn't even thought of, and he had created the game.
See, one of the things I love about my writing process is the contingency factors. So I red string theory board out everything, and then I look for the edge cases, and then I think, how much of an asshole of a player can I be, and how far can I push stuff? If I wanted to, how bad could I be?
Has anyone surprised you in a campaign that you've written?
Every time.
And come up with something you didn't think about?
Every time. It's a joy of being a storyteller and running sessions so many times. Please throw something at me that I'm not going to account for. And part of the skill of doing it at conventions is being able to think on the fly and not show your poker face for what it is and just go, that was a really good roll. In the back of your head, you're going, holy crap, how am I going to sort this one out? I've got nothing. She didn't write anything for this. Oh my God.
Yeah, you have to, it's such a great improviser to do it. I don't know how, I'm so impressed. And also the fact that I always, it doesn't matter what game, whether it's a video game or tabletop or whatever, I love world building, just the world, like the rules of the world and, the vampire clans or whatever. So just like writing in that world, I just like the lore of it all.
It helps you feel immersed in whatever story that you as a player are co-creating with the storyteller and the other players.
Yeah.
If you don't have that boundary of the world you're existing in, it's a bit harder for you to go, I think I would do X, Y, or Z.
Yes. And also you setting it in Australia, which...
Very fascinating.
Yeah, it's just so unusual for any sort of fantasy or sci-fi sort of property. But especially Vampire the Masquerade, I can't imagine there's any other Australian...
There's a little bit of canon stuff, and there are a few Australian authors who do write. Kelly Black springs to mind. But on the whole, no, there's not a whole lot of strong, not that I'm putting myself in that bucket, but strong Australian writers for Vampire the Masquerade. All of my stories are written here because we don't have a body of work, and
it also helps us relate to it a little more.
Exactly. And I mean, for you guys, you were at PAX Australia, you were talking to an Australian storyteller, you're Australians, I want you to be able to relate to the world that you're being asked to do weird ass vampire shit in.
So it's interesting. So it's different than fan fiction because what you're working on is adding to the body of work in a book's sphere.
In part, yeah.
Like I consider one shots to be just as canon as an official Hasbro or official Vampire the Masquerade.
Did you hear that, World of Darkness?
No, but you know what I mean, right? It's like it's all adventures that we create when we play the game.
Absolutely.
How do you feel when you're making a one shot or a campaign or writing a new book in Vampire the Masquerade? Do you feel like it's a burden to be writing in someone else, a company's world, World of Darkness's world, or is it this shared thing? Like, how do you feel about approaching the property? I use the word property loosely because I believe that vampires as much ours as it is theirs, or same with D&D. Like, how do you feel about taking an existing, like James said, world building stuff, like the different clans, and then putting your stories in that framework.
Well, the beauty of World of Darkness is they have the thing called the Dark Pack, which is you can use the IP as much as you want, so long as you're not making profit from it, and that you credit the originals. And in almost every core book that has ever been written for World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, it's very heavily stipulated. These are serving suggestions only. So I can take what I want and leave what doesn't work. And another part of the beauty of setting it in Australia is I can go, well, gee, guys, there's not a whole lot written here. I can just make stuff up as I want.
Yeah.
You've got a few characters that are canonically known to be, princes of cities or head honchos in a city. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot.
So it's not like you're contradicting canon by...
I contradict canon all the time. But another beautiful element of it is this concept of the unreliable narrator. So the story that you as a player are being told by the storyteller through the NPCs of the story may not be what actually happens. They may be out and out lying to you. They may be misremembering stuff. It's all really meh. Who knows what's going on? But this is a version that someone's going to tell me. I can only work off the information I've been given.
Yes.
Interesting. I think I also like is Storyteller the official vampire
for the World of Darkness? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I like, because if someone's a DM or a GM or a gamekeeper sometimes, but I like Storyteller kind of, it applies to all tabletop games, I think.
Yeah.
As if you're someone running a game.
Referee is my most... I hate
the referee scenes, yes. Nah. That seems to...
That's like a sports tabletop game.
Yeah.
And it feels like too much rules.
Yeah. I like Storyteller as well because it's gender neutral.
Yeah.
I know that Dungeon Master, Game Master is fairly ubiquitous and it does cross the gender boundary, but Storyteller just feels authentically non-binary.
Yeah.
Dungeon Mistress is an awkward word, isn't it?
Dungeon Madam.
That's a different
show, folks.
It fits into the world of vampires somewhere, I'm sure.
It definitely does. That's for the After Dark version.
No, but yeah, I think a Storyteller is good because it applies to pretty much all tabletops, and it's what you do, and it's what you're bringing to... it's what you're bringing to people. You're telling the story. You're creating the world, bringing them in and telling the story, and allowing them to participate in that story, which we've talked about before on the show of especially the older you get, the more sort of maybe, you kind of shut yourself off from being imaginative and wanting to play. And telling stories, and so I think I like that title of being a storyteller. I think it applies to a lot, and it's also such an important part of human history and the way people communicate.
Absolutely.
And different tribes and the shamans and whatever. The storyteller was
Didn't they find ancient D20s from Rome?
They were used for sewing.
Those were knitting tools, but yes.
Okay.
But yes,
I was close.
I think you picked up something there really important, that as we grow older, we forget or we distance ourselves from being imaginative and telling stories. And I think that's why, certainly within Australia during COVID, TTRPGs had a major resurgence. I mean, we saw D&D take off in a way that it hasn't since the Satanic Panic of the 80s. Because we were forced online, we were forced to be creative with how we passed our time. And as soon as people picked up, wait, we can do this online, we can use chat rooms, we can use Discord, we can use all of these online tools that we're already using because we're forced to work from home now, to play games and escape whatever is on the news or whatever is happening to our family, that, my kids in isolation because they came home from school with the bug. And yeah, so things like D&D, Call of Cthulhu, all of your major labels had a major resurgence during COVID in Australia. And that play by distance has just kept on going, maybe to not the same degree now that we can do it in person as well, but it's definitely continued at a much higher rate than other countries of the world, because we are by nature an isolated civilization here in Australia. And so we've found this new way of communicating and taking a break from the everyday.
It's not exactly the same, but that's part of the reason why we do this show, is it gives us something to do every week, and like
gets me out of the house.
Gets us out of the house, and
because otherwise I wouldn't leave.
We don't do, you know, I guess behind the scenes, we don't do too much prepping for the show anymore. We come in here and we talk shit.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, creatively dangerous in our own small way, because it's like, well, we're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2. What are we going to talk about? Who knows?
I think
like I think it's important for people to have an outlet that's creative in some way. And as you said, as people get older and they forget or they don't play, they're almost locking themselves out of something that's really important.
Yeah, it's the joy of creating something. Whether you're a storyteller, actually creating the narrative you're trying to play for your group, or if it's this, like if you're a player and it's the story you're creating with the table. Because like it's like a back and forth between storyteller and the table, because like it's a story you guys create together. Because like you don't know what your characters are going to be doing
ever.
But like we recently started a Substack.
Yep.
To, you know, I needed to say the other one.
Yeah.
I always say Stack Social, which is a website instead. Anyway, and we started writing articles exclusively for the Substack, and I wrote one about AI and what's happening in the film industry as a result of, you know, the different models that are coming out. And I thought it was an incredibly cathartic experience, even though it was like a dry non-fiction kind of, you know, little piece. It was the joy of looking at the blank canvas and then being like, let me do some thinking creatively to try and see, you know, how am I going to phrase these sentences? And it's something I haven't done for a long time. And it felt good to just create something.
We're trying so hard to expand away from evil social media
platforms.
The
Nazi platforms.
The Nazi platform. We're just like, what can we do? Well, now we've got Blue Sky, Newsmast, and I guess Substack.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people are finding that social media, it fitted a purpose way back when, but now we're becoming a bit more cognizant of the... I don't want to say the evils, but, you know, the evils.
At the moment,
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Of buying into a platform that you don't own, or buying into something that you can't control, where you become the product.
I think, look, obviously Twitter's taken a turn since Elon bought it. Not getting political, but, you know, when you're taking away fact-checking and you're letting people say things that they shouldn't be saying, we're allowed to say that's a bad thing. And now the same is happening with these other platforms, where I just don't agree with the opinions of the people running these or own these platforms.
No. And
but what can you do, especially when you're trying to grow a brand and you're trying to promote yourself, how do you escape that cycle?
Especially when it's having a real world impact and people are being physically attacked or
targeted.
You know, the government institutions are being completely eroded. Like, it's not just some troll online, it's having real world impact.
Anyway,
that's
this
is my part of my day job is,
we
teaching
were
people how to
into
market.
a question.
So I part of my day job is teaching people how to market themselves, and predominantly TTRPGs. But you're absolutely right.
So now that's where we are. We're just like, how do we maintain our own self-respect as a show while also trying to grow?
Yeah. So my
how
number
do you
one
do that?
my number one tip is, it doesn't matter if it looks crappy, get a website. Get a website. It's a central home.
Comes pointing.
You
right
own
now.
it.
We've got a domain, so that's a start.
That's the hard part one.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's a free website builder.
Look, right now we'll say our website is thetuesdayreview.substack.com.
Hey, it's a central home.
You can access the podcast from there. You can access posts. You can message us there.
Yeah. It's a central hub where anyone who's looking for you comes in. The reason why I say it needs to be a website is because websites have words. Words help you get found in search. If you can get found in search, people are going to find you and come to your website and scroll through the words on your website. The longer they're on your website for, the more that indicates to search engines, people who go there find what they're looking for. So you rise through the rankings. Really, that's all search engine optimization is. Welcome to half of my job. Putting words on websites so you get found in search. And for TTRPGs and radio shows, you work with words. It's really easy to get words. Transcripts of your shows. There's your words. Thought pieces by your people. There's your words. For TTRPGs, the blurb you put on your scenario. There's your words.
Yeah. Speaking of words, because you're big in the tabletop in Australia.
Oh, don't say that. I'm a tiny fish.
No, not to us.
That's when I told people like just random other.
Well, Jack knew you when we talked to Jack. We said, "Oh, we're going to try and talk to Nephthys."
But there was a couple of other what do you call them? Like the stalls at PAX,
booths?
Yeah, there were other booths, just people running the booths, and we got talking, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I played Vampire for the first time. Like, oh, who was your DM? And it's like, I was Nephthys, and it was like, oh, I know her, she's great. Like everyone knew you, everyone had great things to say, so you are famous.
Stop it, you'll never blush.
There's been some recent controversy in the Dungeons and Dragons sphere that I want your opinions on.
Yeah. Hang on, let me swap hats because I'm also president of Dungeons and Dragons Australia, which is Australia's largest fan community.
Yes. If you're not allowed to have an opinion, that's fine.
Oh, yes. I am so allowed to. What are they going to do, fire me?
Well, look, all I'm saying is Hasbro is not the company. It's not the company they used to be.
Yes.
There have been some controversies the last few years of which you're probably aware.
Oh, very.
With, them owning all your stuff in perpetuity or whatever.
Yes.
But they made up for it by putting D&D in the Creative Commons, which was a massive good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, my
point
is...
I feel like there's
yes with
policy.
Yes, that's right. We don't forget. Am I understanding it correctly that orcs are no more?
Full disclosure, I haven't finished reading the 2024 rule set. I am going to go out on a limb here and probably say something that's a bit controversial.
Go for it.
But no, orcs are there.
Okay.
Because the way D&D is set up...
Oh, you can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever the hell you want. Can take... And so there was a lot of furor around the... shall we call it edition 5.5 coming out?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's vastly changing the whole schism of things. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, you can't do... You can do whatever the hell you want. It's a game of imagination, people.
Yeah.
And if you redline, blue line the documents, which is going through and going, well, what has changed, what hasn't changed, the 2024 rule set is not that different.
I did read they're getting rid of half races because it's racist.
You can do whatever you want.
I think the point Nephthys is making is that the rules can say what they want, but ultimately you create your world.
I just think that it's a little silly, like, Elrond half-elven in Lord of the Rings. I don't think it's inherently bad to have to use Pathfinder's language because I prefer that. Ancestry. You can have interesting ancestries in the game because it gives you different skill sets to work with for your character.
Absolutely.
I think removing it's kind of silly.
It just seems like a corporate overcorrection. Like they want to maximize profit, so they're like, we can't offend anyone, we can't. So it's just like...
Make it as broad as possible.
Yeah.
And as simple as possible.
I think you're onto something there. They've tried really hard to be as sensitive to new sensibilities as possible, without engaging the audience that they're writing for. What a novel concept. Talk to the people that want to play your game.
Yeah.
Crazy, I know. And here's the thing, they did. And then all of those influencers and creators came back and went, oh my God, guys, you do not want to see what they're working on, because it was tragic. And so, yes, they course corrected again and came up with what we've got. I think with any system, and I say this even with my beloved Vampire the Masquerade, take everything you read with a grain of salt. It is absolutely your game. It's your world. It's your lore. They're your characters. Do whatever the hell you want with them, so long as everyone at your table is having a safe, fun time.
Ultimately, there's also nothing stopping you from using bits and pieces from different versions that you like.
Absolutely.
That's also true.
As long as you're not clashing with whatever
absolutely.
specific rule set is.
Well,
Well,
how
I
do you,
do
how
it
do you feel
all the
about
time.
the old school revival movement for tabletop?
Callum's asking the really specific, annoying questions tonight.
I think it's going to suit some people perfectly, and power to them. It doesn't suit me because a lot of the sensibilities of the old school movement are non-congruent with my own. Shall we say?
Because I don't know. I've only got the only one I own is one called Old School Essentials. And that's the only one I've read, and it seems pretty harmless to me. It's just like rules changes where it's a little more crunchy, I guess.
Yeah. So that much.
But I don't know about the cultural aspect of it.
Yeah. So you've got to remember that way back in the mists of time.
The Gygax years.
Long may he reign. There were rules like women can't have strength over a certain amount,
Ridiculous.
or
Yeah.
certain races can't have constitution over a certain amount. So racism and sexism baked into the rule set, which is what we've supposedly course corrected from. I think take whatever rules you want, do whatever the hell you want. Again, so long as everyone at your table agrees, yes, these are the rules that we're playing with. And if someone is at a table where you do not feel safe, get the hell out of there. There's other groups to play with.
So how do you feel about session zeros? Because I've heard a lot about those.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. All the time.
Can you explain that? Because some people
we're not tabletop
have lives.
Me and James aren't tabletop nerds here.
So a session zero is where everyone gets together and you discuss what kind of a game you want to play.
Oh, yeah. That
what
sounds
rules
great.
you agree upon, where things like your lines and veils are. So what are things that you don't want in the game? What are things that you're okay being in the game, but maybe not for your character? What are things that you're okay, oh my God, yes, please include this in the game? You go through things like, do you want an investigation game? Do you want political? Do you want high combat? Do you want high role playing? How experienced are you with role playing? That sort of a thing. It allows everyone to have a voice at the table before the game starts so that when the game actually starts, everyone's coming
On the same page.
with a shared understanding
That
of
just sounds
what the game's
sensible.
going to be.
Yeah.
That
sounds
just sounds
great.
like you're pre-planning. That's just sounds
Right.
like
You wouldn't go into a project without knowing what kind of a project you were going into. So,
I've heard horror stories of like DMs who insist on not having session zeros, and then the group have to just white knuckle it. But I shouldn't laugh because it's all the horror stories.
I think if your players are coming to a DM going, hey, when's our session zero? As a DM, that should be a oh my God, yes, thank you guys. Because one, your player group is showing some initiative. Support the hell out of that. Because the DM's job is hard enough without having to do the organising of stuff. And two, that's a sign to get your shit together as a DM. If you don't think you should have a session zero, have a long, hard think about why. And if it's just because you want to railroad your players, go write a story. Go write a book.
Yeah.
Don't drag other people with their own emotional baggage into your one-person show, because that's what it's going to end up being.
Especially because, as like we were talking about, like as a storyteller and bringing people into the world, you're sharing this world. It's not just you, the DM or the storyteller isn't the only person there. So it's like, what's the point if you're not involving, if there's not a collaboration, a creative kind of back and forth, what's the point? And also it's something we've talked about before where like promoting empathy through art and in this case gaming, I think it's really important, especially
now
when it seems like people are lacking empathy. But yeah, like being a storyteller and sort of shepherding, if that's the right word, like, and being this sort of force for good, and
Yeah.
not only, you know, like we were saying earlier, letting especially people who have maybe forgotten how to express themselves and play and be imaginative, but also like have flex that kind of empathy muscle, you know, that in your day-to-day corporate existence you might not get to.
I mean, there's also
flex.
other far kind of reaching, I guess, ways to do it. Like when we talked to Jack, he said he was involved in a program where they played tabletop in prisons to kind of, I guess, you know, engage with people and encourage some of those.
It's good to teach communication, empathy. Yeah. It's therapeutic for people. You know.
Absolutely. There's a lot of groups that have started up as after-school programs to try and teach kids through using things like D&D, you know, neurodivergent kids or kids who maybe don't have opportunities for building social skills, that sort of a thing. They've also found more recently that it helps with math and literacy as well. So I am
fun, like a fun way to teach math. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We know someone who's done that for their day job in some capacity. Emma. Not strictly D&D,
not D&D,
not D&D, but like role playing exercises. With
to help speech,
with speech pathology and neurodivergent kids, to help them kind of those similar kind of, I guess, systems.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I'll tell you a story about that after.
Okay.
We might be back.
We might be.
Back.
We should be.
Never take anything for granted. Yeah. We'll be back with more from Nephthys after these quick messages. You are back live on 98.9 Northwest FM, talking all things, I guess, tabletop, storytelling, creative kind of business with Nephthys Nile. We were talking about, I guess, using tabletop and, I guess, you know, creative storytelling as a tool to build empathy and communication and break down some barriers. And we feel like it's especially needed now. And we were discussing right before the break using these tools as well, specifically with people with like autism and neurodivergent kind of brains. And I guess helping them.
Awkward phrasing.
Not really.
No,
it's
makes
fine.
sense.
It gets the point across. Using those as a tool, I guess, you know, to help people communicate. Why are you laughing? Stop laughing.
We've lost him.
That's it.
He's gone.
I'm muting his mic. But so I guess explain, you know, in your personal experience, using these kind of methods and systems to kind of encourage or bring people out of their shells, especially if they have issues of neurodiversity.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do with Dungeons & Dragons Australia is we run tables at conventions and predominantly Comic-Con. So I think this year we're running 6 tables at Comic-Con in Melbourne, and over the years that we've been part of it is we've found that a lot more families are bringing their kids to these sessions because it gives them an opportunity to kind of see these kids break out of their shells a little bit. They're sat at a table with people that they've never met, and suddenly they're communicating with them, and not only communicating with them, but really engaging with this notion of I can be anyone and do anything, and they're not bound by, to get a little bit, I guess, touchy-feely, not bound by the constraints of a world that maybe doesn't have a place for them at the moment. And they walk away from the table having played a session, you know, maybe an hour and a half of D&D, holding themselves a little bit higher, feeling a little freer. And we've had parents come up to us afterwards going, that was amazing. They won't shut up about it. Thank you. I guess I'm going to have to go and buy all the books and dice now. And we're like, we can hook you up with that. But like just seeing these parents come away going, I wasn't sure what I was going to get when they came away from the table, but my kid is standing taller now. Thank you so much. Is such an amazing feeling.
Have you ever I mean, I'm sure you've had many experiences of families playing together, but have you ever had a moment where you thought, wow, that was awesome? Like having like parents and kids at the table?
Yeah, absolutely. More than one occasion where a parent has gone, it's for the kid. I want to book the session for the kid, but I'm going to sit in just in case because I don't know how they're going to take it.
You see that mum lock in.
And no, absolutely. Seeing mum who's like, Dad is gone, I'm going and getting some Christmas presents. You look after the kids. Yeah. I'll be back. And mum's like, oh, if I have to. Fine, whatever. We just very quietly hand Mum a set of dice and a character sheet before too long.
Something she never knew she needed.
She's also rolling dice going, oh my God, I got a natural 1.
And then the downfall is they realise they like buying dice.
Yeah, the first taste is free, folks. Dice is a gateway drug.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got into it. I don't care about
I am
dice.
a confirmed dice dragon with over a lot of dice.
You know what I will say is you can get these bargains where it's like you can buy like 100 dice and you don't know what they are. There's something special about getting that in the mail when you just have 100 dice and you're like, oh.
I don't know, man.
Just get a kiddie pool, dump them in and swim around in them.
Scrooge McDuck.
Yep.
Dive in.
You laugh, but I'm working my way up to that.
Do you have a lucky set of dice?
So yes.
Because some people treat these like tarot cards where they take them like they're intelligent.
Yep.
Like they'll put their dice in timeout. Like unironically.
Oh, absolutely. I prime all of my dice, so the top face is up before every session, and when they've rolled, they get primed again. So the 20 on the D20 is always up. I have dice punishment. I have a tiny little Iron Maiden that was made for me from Glowcraft Australia, and if my D20 does not roll the way I want it, it goes in there where it has to think about what it's done.
Oh, you see posts online all the time where it's like, a piece of a dice, looking sadly on its own, and it'll be a piece of paper that said, "This is what I did to my own."
Yeah, absolutely. But I think my lucky dice now, I was lucky enough to be invited to play a game with B. Dave Walters, who is an amazing DM from the US. And my lucky set of dice are from the game that I played with him, where I think we saved the castle. We might have done some horrible, horrible things and potential war crimes, ? But, is it a game of D&D if you don't commit at least
campaign.
one war crime?
Well, they say most adventuring parties are called murder hobos.
Murder hobos, yes, absolutely.
What do the dice look like, by the way?
So they're yellow, which is not a colour one would associate with me. For listeners, I am rocking the very gothic mum look right now because that's all I wear. So bright yellow with like sparks of mylar in them, so that as it catches the light, it looks like they're on fire inside. Cool. They're beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Not a set of dice I would buy for myself, but they rolled really well. So anytime I need to get out of a clutch moment, they're the dice I go to.
Very nice.
Are there such things like loaded dice? Do people cheat?
Yes.
Oh my God, I would be furious if I was a GM.
Like, has that ever happened to you?
The idea of truly balanced dice, here we're going to get a little technical for a second. The idea of truly balanced dice is a myth because no dice can be made where it won't favour a side, just from the amount of weight that's taken out for the impression of the numbers in there. But gosh darn, you can get really close. But there are absolutely weighted dice. They've been weighted dice since Roman times because, everyone likes a little something on their side when they're playing with the fates. And yes, I have had players at my tables play with weighted dice.
But that's...
How do you find out? Do you just like...
If they roll a 20 every single time?
I can't go to the casino because I count cards. I keep track of rolls, folks.
Does like the Dungeons and Dragons community of Australia or whatever have like the goons who go and break their legs outside the...
Oh my God, I'm writing this down as an idea. I've just found a revenue vector.
The FBI have their most wanted list? It's
just there's a list of the dice. Yeah.
It's just an arm of Dungeons and Dragons Australia that is the Pinkertons. That's what we're doing now.
Do you have an especially memorable campaign? Something that's like stuck with you? Like a magical moment,
or
a special moment in a campaign. Like, what's the one that's left the biggest impact on your life?
Gosh, they're all fantastic. Look, I'd be lying if I said that I play for the drama, but I do. I play 100% for the drama. Traumatize me, DMs, bring it on. So I play truly flawed characters all the time. That's where I find the most fun. Playing a messed up character that's more messed up than I am in actual life and seeing what they do about it. So I played in a game where I was playing a very old vampire who had been asleep for a very, 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 very long time, but had done some amazing things in her life, just couldn't remember them. And so through leveling up, rather than like learning new skills, the method that I was using for her was unlocking and deciphering all of her old notebooks. She'd be like deciphering something and go,
smart.
oh yeah, I remember that spell now.
Yeah,
cool.
remembering.
Could be like a memento thing. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Tattoos on the body or what have you.
Yeah. And so... Yeah, this was a character that I had waited 20 years to play. I needed the right campaign and I needed the right group of people. And I finally got to play her. And in the very last session of, I think it was like a 2-year game, which was started during COVID, she went into the underworld having deciphered all of her notebooks and remembered what it was that she had done. She had gone to the underworld, she'd made a pact with a demon and come back to tell the tale, which is not something that many people can do in the vampire world. Definitely as a vampire, because demons and ghosties like what vampires have to offer. So yeah, she went back and she made a pact with a demon, and she tricked the demon. The demon wanted people to know about them and tell my story, and she's like, yep, cool, I can do that. I will absolutely go back to the Skinlands and tell your story. Yep. Demon didn't know that she was an author who wrote really, really tragic smut. So she went back to the Skinlands, or our world as it's called, and just wrote like Mills and Boons level stories about this demon, so that she technically covered the aspects of the deal that had been made. But, no one took it seriously.
Rules lawyer the demon?
Rules lawyer the demon, yeah.
That's good.
That's awesome. So you created this character a long time ago and was just waiting for the right time.
Yeah, I am a tragic in that I have so many characters in my backlog of just waiting for the right story, just waiting for the right...
think that's cool. That's a good
That would torment
idea,
me. I'd have to just like write short
Why do you
stories
think I became a storyteller, dude?
Have you ever taken a character that you've wanted to play in a scenario or a game, and you haven't found the right place to use them or the right game, and so you've just written them into a scenario?
You played Shadows on the Nullarbor, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. So I had a ghoul character that I wanted to play, who ended up as the hostess with the mostess on the Indian Pacific.
Oh, yeah, I
There
remember.
you go.
Yeah. And also the big, I don't know if you encountered her, the big baddie.
No, we didn't get that far, unfortunately.
I think we got
You'll
to
have
like
to play
a
it again.
bat
was
vampire,
that-
like an old bat vampire or something.
There was something
or-
we fought a monster at the end. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yes.
Yeah, but we didn't get to the end of the train ride, though.
That's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She is kick-ass, and one day I will play her, and not as an NPC, because she is terrifying.
as someone who has DM'd or like as a storyteller for, I mean, I guess a lot of your career, how is it when you're a player? Can you disconnect, or are you going like, what is this DM doing to
I
me?
try so hard. I'm in a number of actual plays.
Yeah.
I was in the award-winning Red Centre by Night, also set in Australia. I'm now working with an international group of horror enthusiasts called Icaran Inc. We've just done a cyberpunk and Vampire the Masquerade crossover. Ooh. Where I played a Malkavian netrunner.
That's cool.
In Night City. So as a player, I try really, really hard to switch my brain off.
Annoying question. So I don't know how it works in Vampire the Masquerade, but is it sunlight or UV that's damaging to a vampire? Are they damaging? So how does that work in Cyberpunk when everything's got like LEDs?
It's called Night City.
Yeah, but you've got all the signs and stuff. Is that an issue?
Wouldn't be there wouldn't be UV light.
No. But what you do need to worry about is the Second Inquisition agents who are everywhere, who do have UV scopes on their guns.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no. So yeah, switching my storyteller brain off is difficult, especially as I'm a bit of a lore whore and I want to know everything that's going on, especially like talking to other storytellers, like, tell me everything about your world. I want to know everything. But as a player, I'm like, I need to not know anything. So there's that constant internal conflict. And I will say, I am always sitting there as a player going, and the red string board behind me in my brain is connecting dots, sometimes incorrectly, and that's just even more fun. But yeah, disconnecting the brain, I don't know that I'm capable of doing that, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, it would be hard.
So Vampire the Masquerade's your favorite, obviously. But out of all of the indie games, like the smaller ones, like what's your favorite?
Ooh. There is one that I was able to play once that I've been dying to play called Dark Vigil. I think it was at PAX. I'm pretty sure it was. It is set in a Victorian era, and it's very horror. And oh no, I love both of those things. What a shame. There is also a solo GM-less game where you use tarot cards as a vampire to tell a story. And that's a lot of fun. I will give these guys the links to all of these games.
Sounds great.
There is also a game called The 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, which is basically journaling as a vampire, and it is divine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to check some of these out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, the bonus of solo games is you don't need a group to play with. So
I think the great thing about tabletops is that like pretty much every tabletop game has something going for it. So like there's some, as a professional DM, if a table wants to play a specific game, you can be like, okay, well, what does this game offer that I can really like lean into?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And as anyone who has seen my library can attest, I collect TTRPGs for that specific reason.
Weird question.
Yes.
Have you got Morkborg?
I do.
Can you explain it to me?
No one can explain it, and if anyone can tell you they can, they're lying.
So I saw their website is sick, right?
Yes.
The artwork in Morkborg is insane.
Yes.
So I bought it based on vibes.
Yep.
So I get this game in the mail. I open it. I don't get it.
I did the same with a TTRPG that I backed recently called Extreme Meat Punks, where basically you pilot mech and punch Nazis.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I opened the book because I got it because of the art style. I went, hell yes. Oh, and the catchphrase. Like, I have to.
Yeah.
Got the book, opened it up and went, there's words there.
I know.
Closed the book and put it back in the shelf. Like, I'll get to it one day.
That's something... I mean, this is sort
That's
of...
me and James with board games. We'll buy a board game and we'll look at the rule set and we'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah, because there are some games where you have to read for an hour just to and set up all the pieces. But this is sort of going in a sort of nebulous kind of thing. But it's like, because we've tried to create our own tabletop, and it's like, my worry is I want it to be accessible to new players and people who aren't necessarily familiar with tabletop games. But I also want there to be a world and a rule structure and gameplay that is unique to our game. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to balance.
Yep.
We spent years, mostly me.
Callum did all.
Spent years making a tabletop game, a cyberpunk game called NET, Neural Electronic Tabletop is the acronym. Yeah. Not to brag, I don't know.
It's still a work in progress.
It's fine.
I don't know anybody who's made a tabletop game or a board game and come away and gone, that's it, that's perfection. I don't need to do anything to it anymore.
No, it's hard to balance. Yeah.
My suggestion would be make a game that you enjoy playing first and foremost, because if you don't enjoy playing it, no one else is going to.
Because I'm like I was saying before, I love world building and the lore and stuff. So Callum's like, setting out all the rules and stuff, and I'm like, no, but I want to learn about the city, but we're also like, we want people to create their own city and create their own characters, so we don't want to pigeonhole them and be like, here are the classes. I'm like, okay, so we don't have classes, but also I want like, I want to create something.
You want to
cool
have your cake and eat it.
Yeah,
so here's a crazy idea, and I'm just thinking on the fly right now. Create a game that you're going to enjoy. Play it a few times so that you understand implicitly what it is that you're trying to achieve here, and then go through the rule set and go, what are the rules that absolutely stick? You cannot get rid of them, or we don't have this game anymore. There's your pared down rule set for intro to new players. Play test it. Ask them questions. There's your product. That is game development 101.
Yeah, we have to play test it more. We were
It's
thinking
basically
of,
finished. It's basically like ready for prototyping anyway. Like I said, it's spent years on it, so all the rules. But the problem is there's so many rules. So there's rules for like literally everything. I'm like, well, what if there's a fire? What is the smoke gonna do to
Basically,
vision?
you've written D&D again.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So when I was thinking about when I was thinking about the combat element, right? I'm like, well, the thing about D&D is that the way they handle modifiers just makes sense to me. So I'm like, if you're really good at strength, for example, and you have like, well, that makes sense that you'd have a +3 on your rolls because you're really proficient at it.
Yes.
So I'm like, I kind of need that in my version of like the. So this project came because I don't like Cyberpunk Red.
That is a fair assessment. Yes.
Because like we bought Cyberpunk, me and James are G'd up to play it. We got the rules set, and we're like, this is awfully 80s, and like journalists should not be a class. I'm sorry, Rockstar is a class.
Oh,
Yeah.
but media plays such an important role on covering up all of your war crimes.
Like it's also there's no like virtual reality in it. You know, like the idea of cyberpunk evolves so rapidly over time.
Yeah.
But like what they call net running in the 80s is different to what I think net running should be, where it's like, to me, it's more of a Johnny Mnemonic kind of matrixy thing.
You want that scene from the Hackers when he's actually going into the mainframe and flying through the stacks digitally.
More like, did you ever read Snow Crash?
Yes.
Yeah, like it's basically I just want like a mix between Johnny Mnemonic and Snow Crash. That's what I want.
You want the metaverse. But not the
but
metaverse
cool.
as we
Like
know it
Facebook
today.
like
Facebook metaverse.
It's like VR chat.
All right. We are running out of time. One final question we ask all of our guests.
Yes.
Do you have a favourite movie? And if so, why?
Ooh, I have a lot of favourite movies, but
Gut feeling though. Gut feeling.
It's not.
Only
gut
Lovers
feel.
Left Alive.
oh, vampire movie.
I
don't
mean,
think I've
it's
seen
very
it.
on brand.
Tilda Swinton.
Tilda
That's very
Swinton,
good.
Tom Hiddleston, they're vampires in Detroit. It is freaking delicious. The vampirism isn't super overt. The music is amazing. Good luck in finding the soundtrack these days. The cinematography is divine. The costuming is pared back, and that's from a costume nut. But it just makes so much sense. And the way their level of the way their vampires work just makes sense.
Excellent.
Do we... Sorry, is Matt here?
No.
Do you mind if we go for a little bit longer?
Absolutely not. You've got me
Okay.
talking about vampires. Come on.
Yeah, because I'm like, all right, well, we need to talk about vampire movies, one.
Yes.
But also you mentioned costumes, which I want to talk about as well. Vampire movies.
Yes.
We were talking off air before we started recording about the new Nosferatu.
Yes.
Did you like it?
I've seen it twice. Yes.
Nice. Very
It
nice.
is delightfully gothic.
Yeah.
That scene when what's the main character's name, the male's name? I'm blanking on
Thomas?
Thomas. That's the one. Yeah, when he floats into the carriage.
Oh.
I was
that
like,
was
oh my
great.
god, we saw it at IMAX. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I just cannot get over the cinematography and my god, the fact that he had special lenses built so that he could capture low light in such crisp detail. Divine.
Kubrick core.
What do you think about Orlok's dirty stash?
I loved it.
I loved it because from a historical perspective, it makes sense.
Yes.
Orlok is supposed to be,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, a Transylvanian count. And from the era that he was in, that is the facial hair he would have.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a historical costuming nut.
No, that's exactly why I loved it. I was like, okay, when you see images of Vlad the Impaler, of course he's got the big mustache, and he's dressed as, you know, the 15th century lord or whatever, and he's got the little fur hat, and I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And unlike, because the original silent Nosferatu, one of my favorite movies, and the design of Orlok with the pointy ears and the little rat teeth, love it. But I loved how in this new Nosferatu, how I was like, oh no, he's literally the Walking Dead. Like he's a corpse.
Yes, he's a corpse. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, from a stylistic perspective, the original Nosferatu made sense for that costuming because that would have been scary for them. They needed, no matter how you like to frame it, modern audiences are a lot more nuanced with their understanding of why certain choices have been made. Back at the advent of cinema, they weren't so. So they needed something. They needed a key that they could go, that's the bad guy.
It's also,
Also,
yeah,
it was
it's a
new.
especially German expressionism and Nosferatu, the shadows. It's like it's such a striking silhouette.
I loved in the modern film the harking back to that with the shadows. Like they could have had a great film if they hadn't done that, but it was such a beautiful tie-in and sort of like a salute to the original.
Yeah. And Skarsgård's vocal delivery is amazing.
Oh my God.
He growls like
the fact that he trained with a voice trainer for so long to lower his voice by an octave, bananas.
Unrecognizable. He did such a good job.
And then you hear him in interviews and you're like, what?
Is
this the same guy?
What was I going to say? Have you seen the Herzog version?
Yes.
Love it.
We love we love all the versions.
I love
all the Nosferatus.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love that. So I watched all the Nosferatus, including Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah.
Before watching this film. Big mistake because I knew every step that was coming. I was like, it's so fresh with me.
It's too,
But my favorite part of the Herzog movie is it just cuts to this boy sweeping in the castle.
Yeah.
Like Herzog.
But it's such a Herzog move.
He's slow, like slice of life kind of shots.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
Yeah.
Also, his mice are hilarious. The rats, these well-tamed rats just chilling on camera. Everyone's freaking out.
Hey man, you gotta get what you can get.
Yep.
Have you seen the trailer for Sinners?
No.
Okay.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I want to see that. It's like a Depression era South
vampire
thing.
I shall add it to my list.
Yeah. Costumes.
Yes.
Because when you do the, what are they called? Live plays?
Yes. Actual plays, yes.
Actual plays. And you do the video element for YouTube and that. And you guys like dress up as your characters.
We do indeed.
So tell us about that process of like creating, do you sew your own stuff? I
do because I'm bonkers. So for Red Centre by Night, we had 2 seasons. And the group that I was in actually needed 2 costumes because we were very ritualistic. So we needed a ritual costume and then like an everyday costume. And my character was basically the head of the church that we were part of. So her costumes were OTT. So, I spent like $200, $300 for the fabric and materials for a dress that would be seen in maybe one episode because I'm bananas.
It brings authenticity to the character.
Sure. It also brings a whole lot of sweat when you can't air condition the bloody studio you're recording in, but sure. Yeah, cotton velveteen was a great idea for summer recording. Oh my God. For the cyberpunk one that we did, I made a jumpsuit with EL sewn into it that I had a little Arduino on my backpack so I could have it. My character was very straight-laced, did not show emotions, and so the lighting conveyed emotions. I really enjoy little things like that. For Alice Barr, my Nosferatu character in Red Centre, she had 3 major cuts across her face, which I did with SFX, that I don't know that anybody picked up on this, but it was a thing of just for me, where the further away from, I guess, the height of humanity she went, the gashes in her face got larger and larger.
Oh, cool.
To try and portray, like, the closer to the beast and madness that she's going.
Yeah.
She also had, she had a swarm of flies that she kept in Alice Springs floating around that told her secrets of what was going on. And I had some of those glued to the gashes in the face because that's where they lived, folks. She was a disgusting character.
Gross.
And I loved her.
That's awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
much.
So for each episode of the show, like you're
my face,
you redid the makeup to gradually get bigger.
My face was completely covered with PVC glue and then latex and then face paint and then special effects.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. Oh my God.
In summer.
That's dedication.
I love the dedication to the
go
bit.
hard or go home, folks.
Yeah, it's role playing. You better get into the role.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then for the very last episode of that season, before we called it quits and went to an epilogue, which was just voice only, I knew that there was going to be a moment where my character would be completely and totally heartbroken. And so I lined her eyes with black and also some stage blood. And so as I cried, I actually got blood tears down my face.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm not that smart.
we're like, we love talking to people like you because we're like, why are you so talented?
I get bored easily. That's all it is, folks. And I have an internet connection. You take that away, I've got nothing.
Yeah, we appreciate when other, because it's like, we're just like,
we couldn't do anything.
we're just a bunch of hacks. We're like, oh my God.
No, you come on here and you talk about the creative things other people do. That's creativity.
That's what, we're trying to, we got a voice, so we like to
Try and
use it. Help people. And it's a creative outlet. Also, I saw on your Instagram, you're a big Lego person.
Yes.
And I saw one post that your favorite build was the James Bond Aston Martin DB5.
It is, to this day, one of the most complex builds I've ever done.
That's awesome. Are you a James Bond movie fan?
Yes, big time.
That's awesome.
Favorite James Bond movie, go.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's hard.
Put a girl on the spot.
Top 3 maybe?
Okay.
Does that help?
If you can't think of any, favorite Bond. That'll do.
That's hard too, though.
Sean Connery is my favorite.
I've
Bond.
just got the blue screen of death happening at the moment. Look,
What's the
Sean
Windows
Connery-
sign-off sound?
Sean Connery was great, but
Obviously, it hasn't aged as well.
no.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like all of the James Bonds, you've got to look at them as a product of their time.
There is something about the Sean Connery Bond that, even though he's a bit sexist and he's not a good guy,
He is in the books. Oh, my God.
This is something we talk about media literacy a lot, and a lot of people, especially younger people, they don't really understand. It's like, just because he's the main character doesn't make him a good guy.
Absolutely.
And just because you're rooting for him to defeat the bad guys doesn't necessarily mean you agree with everything that he does.
Conversely, no one is the villain in their own story, and all of the villains believe that they're doing the right thing for their own reasons.
Yeah.
That's something that I take into all of my storytelling, is not only just because you're the main character as a player doesn't mean you're the good guys, and there are always consequences to your actions.
Especially if you're a murder hobo.
Especially if you're a murder hobo. But also, your villains believe they're doing the right thing for whatever reason.
I reckon my top 3 Bonds are probably Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, and then Roger Moore.
I've never been a big. I like Roger Moore, but I've never been a big Roger. I think I like Timothy Dalton, and I like Daniel Craig.
Who's the Australian one?
George Lazenby, the worst Bond.
He tried.
Listeners, if you could see this look I'm giving him right now, no, you are wrong. You see,
he's a terrible actor.
wrong.
He's not my
The
favorite.
worst.
I was like, he
the
attempted
worst.
it. That's
the
all.
worst.
Daniel Craig, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton. There you go.
That's a good list.
I would have to say, what is the one in New Orleans?
Oh, Live and Let Die?
Live and Let Die is my favourite.
That's an interesting choice. That's a Roger Moore one.
But I would have a different ranking if we're talking the cars in James Bond.
Oh, favourite James Bond car.
DB5.
It's the DB5. It's the DB5. Yeah. The Lotus Esprit that goes under the water is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal car, but it's so 80s.
Are you a Mission Impossible fan?
I was, and then I wasn't.
Oh, the opposite of James. Interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't, and the last couple of movies got me on board.
Really?
Yeah, the last two have been really,
because Tom Cruise has
really
a
good.
death wish, and James appreciates.
I appreciate the stunt,
nature.
but it's not just the stunts. Like the last 2 movies were actually good movies, whereas 4 and 5 I don't think are that good.
We often say that the James Bond films would improve if they took a little bit of the formula from the modern Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
Because the latest Mission Impossible film had everything that made a Bond movie great. Like it had the cool villains, it had the car chases, it had.
I think they hit that with Casino Royale.
Casino Royale is top tier, but the last couple of James Bond movies for me, were just kind of like, what are they doing here? They're like getting up their own asses with this guy's connected. Yeah. This guy was related to this guy.
It's meant to be like a pulp novel. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be. It
doesn't help that Daniel Craig goes out there to the media all the time. Like, I hate it.
I want to slash my wrist.
And then he gets another $100 million. He's just like, all right.
Yeah. Oh, another villa in Italy. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think if they can just bring it back to the simplicity of the older movies where it's just he walks into M's office, M gives him a mission to defeat the bad guy, defeats the bad guy, gets the girl at the end. I think the Daniel Craig movies, they started to get into
Worldbuilding,
the backstory and all these connections. I'm like, it should just be a pulpy serial kind of.
I wonder if that's because it's been running for such a long time. In order to get greenlit, they need to be offering something different.
Maybe.
Especially now, like it's in a bit of a strange place because they want it to be content.
Amazon
and
Amazon
the
and
Broccoli family is like, no,
Yeah.
treat it with respect.
It's not going to happen while Amazon is being.
It also
petty about
it also doesn't help when there's the whole legal issues. It's like this. There used to be like one movie a year, and the last few there's been like 5-year gaps between them, and it's like gets harder and harder to.
Who is your favorite pick for the next James Bond?
I stay out of this because I'm just happy with whatever I get.
I want Josh O'Connor.
Yeah, he would be good.
From Challenges and La Chimera.
Who's our boy, Richard Madden?
Yes.
I'm still rooting for Richard
Madden. I reckon Josh O'Connor. I watched La Chimera and I looked at that man. I'm like, he could be my James Bond.
He could pull it off. Also, what's the guy who plays River in Jack
Lowden? Yeah. He'd be a good James
Slow
Bond.
Horses.
No love for Aaron Taylor Johnson as Bond?
Nah, man. You need to watch La Chimera and you'll see.
No, I mean...
Ralph Ineson would be a funny Bond.
I think it's like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I'm just happy with whoever I get because they're going to make it their own.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think sorry, I'm bringing balance to the force.
No, everyone wanted Idris Elba as James Bond, but he's too old.
He's getting too old.
Yeah.
And that's the one risk with the James Bond. He would be a good James Bond if he was like the same age as he was when he was making The Wire.
You know who would be good? You know who would be good though is the guy in Rebel Ridge, Aaron Pierce. Is that his name?
I don't know.
The main guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he would be.
Is he
good.
English?
I think so. Yeah.
But you need a young James Bond. We don't need an
old.
we don't want old man Bond anymore.
But we're also stifled with the gap between movies because if you get someone young, they've got. I mean, realistically, you've got 2 movies before you really hit your stride. There's 10 years.
Yeah, I mean
that's 10 release years. Forget about like actual filming and pre-production.
It was like over 15 years from Casino Royale to
stop spending $250 million on a movie.
Yeah,
they have to. The insurance for all those vehicles comes at a pretty penny, my dear.
That's also true.
Anyway,
that's also true.
Anyway, thank you for indulging me because we don't get to talk about James Bond enough on the show. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, we have to talk about it because
I'm always happy to talk James Bond.
One more thing, I saw you were nominated for an award at the GameHers.
Yes.
GameHers. The Gamers Awards. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So the GameHer Awards are set up by a collective of women and femme-identifying gamers, video across the whole spectrum of gaming. This is my second nomination in 2 years.
And you said you weren't famous.
I'm not. I'm just a guy. I'm just
nominee.
a little guy, folks.
What's that meme? Just an innocent men? That's from a famous YouTube video.
I'm just a little guy. And this year I have been nominated for the Innovate Her in gameplay. Which is a new category, and I have no idea what it's about. But like, I've gone with I'm bringing TTRPGs to as many people as possible in as many new and interesting ways as I can. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So voting's currently open. It closes on the 20th of February US time, whenever that is, and
Can anyone vote? Who can vote?
Anyone can vote. Voting's only through their app, though.
That's all right. We'll stack the vote.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Actually, we shouldn't say this on air, but
for legal reasons, that was a joke.
Stuff the ballot box.
But yeah, if I am successful, I get to go to the US.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Well, it used to be cool now, not so much.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Maybe I'll just do one of those phone-in. I'm so happy to be... Sorry, I can't be there, guys. From, Bondi Beach or something gorgeous in the background. Yeah.
So where can people get... was it Shadows of the Nullarbor?
Shadows on the Nullarbor is still currently being typeset, but it will be up on the Storyteller's Vault. I'm hoping, knock on wood, tap tap, by the end of the year.
Is that a physical book or digital?
It's going to be a digital book. I'm going to see if I can get print on demand.
We'll have to buy a copy.
Yeah. I have about 4 other stories that are still being typeset as well, so laid out. But yeah, and then I will obviously link through my website because everyone deserves stuff. I will also be giving away community copies.
That's awesome.
I know earlier you said that the World of Darkness has the sort of, not the Creative Commons, but that
the Dark Pack.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that just how you were like, I'm just going to write this, or is there another process of like, this is like a more official quote unquote?
So Storyteller's Vault is through DriveThruRPG, and they have, I guess, an agreement where they will sell community-made items for certain IPs and storylines, and World of Darkness is one of them.
That's a huge website. It's where you get
D&D stuff. You can get indie TTRPGs there. You can get all sorts of stuff there. Yeah,
cool.
It's massive.
Do you have any upcoming cons that you'll be at?
I will be at
Conquest
on the April Easter weekend. I am also currently writing, frantically, like a madwoman, an epic 3-hour D&D session for Port Play for the city of Port Phillip. That will be 100 players playing D&D at 20 tables.
Oh my God.
It's a horrible storyline. I am so excited for it. And you can find me on Ikran Inc. On Twitch and YouTube, where I play a number of people. Currently, Barbel, the Malkavian netrunner in Cyberpunk, and soon a one-shot called E-Division. The first episode went live last weekend, where we play paranormal investigators for vampire kind. And then I will be at PAX again this year.
Nice. We'll see you there, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
God willing.
Do you guys have anything?
No. Where else can people find you?
Yeah.
Everywhere. I'm just everywhere. If you go to my link tree, link./Nephthys Nile. Go to my website. It's nephthisnile.com.
Okay. We'll put the information
You will find everything there.
NEPHTHYSNILE.
Give the man a gold star.
That's it.
Okay, I read that. I didn't. I wasn't just. That's all. I wasn't off the top of my head.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Nephthys. You can catch the Tuesday Review on all the social media platforms, specifically on Newsmask, Blue Sky, and
delete
Substack.
Twitter and Meta and
look. We'll post links to our episodes there, but we're trying not to engage on those platforms.
Hopefully, we can move away from that.
Instagram's a bit harder to get rid of because we message people through Instagram.
Yeah, it's still a community.
It's an issue, but that's where the people are. We're also on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan_B_90.
I am Channeldrifter.
And I'm callumtuesday.
Are you on Letterboxd, Nephthys?
I am not yet.
Okay. Please rate and review.
Yes,
show.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review so we can get more listeners and reach more people. And we already talked about the Substack, didn't we?
We did. Subscribe to us on Substack. You'll get exclusive articles, movie reviews,
longer
posts up
form,
from us. Engage with us on there too.
Yeah.
You can listen to all the podcasts through Substack as well. That's the TuesdayReview.substack.com. It's probably our closest thing we have to an all-in-one kind of website at the moment.
And we said YouTube, didn't we?
And we're on YouTube at Tuesday Review AU on all other platforms.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Adios, cousin.